Yanis Varoufakis, the former finance minister of Greece, last night at the New School. The video is uploading to my YouTube channel, April Waters, Watters. Please look for it. There will be a link for support. Please support alternative, organic news, and truth in media. He says a lot of the things that I have been saying for quite some time. He's only speaking about it on a larger scale. So right now, I'm going to skip any kind of music break and go right to Les Jamieson and Sandra Hicks on hr14.org and releasing the 28 pages. Les?
I'm here.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Good, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yep, I sure can. How do I sound? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound clear. I'm wearing headset, but I'm not hearing you through my headphones for some strange reason. Let me see if I can fix that here.
Yeah, I mean we're on the air now, Les. I mean, if you want to, I don't know, try it without the headphones.
Okay. I'll figure it out here.
And I don't see Sander doesn't seem to be on Skype yet. Let me just write him a little bit of message.
Sure.
So, but we can start until he becomes available. So let me just, in the email that I got from the both of you, it reads, did you know President Bush covered up Saudi involvement in 9/11? Then it goes on to say, on Sunday, April the 10th, CBS respected news show 60 Minutes broadcast positive coverage of the 28 pages issue. This was a major victory for truth lovers everywhere. The 28 pages is an urgent opportunity for an important topic to enter mainstream consciousness and become law. For 15 years, the diverse 9/11 truth movement has asked many hard questions, but the issue has been derided as a fringe, taboo topic. Until now, everyone from Fox News to the New York Times has reported that President Bush excised the final 28 pages of the joint inquiry report into the 9/11 attacks, and by doing this, Bush covered up the financing of the attacks. He covered for his close family friends, the Saudi royals, as well as their fellow deep state operators, the U.S. government allies, and international fat cats. But there is hope. Once House Resolution H.R. 14 passes into law, the website is hr14.org. The U.S. Congress will reverse Bush's censorship. He will expose one of the major secrets of 9/11. The time will then be right to expose the other aspects of the cover-up. This is not about blaming Muslims or demonizing Saudis. Senator Bob Graham has pointed out that the 28 pages expose the involvement of Saudi money working in tandem with other U.S. agencies. Releasing the 28 pages will help spark badly needed reform of the political system here at home in the U.S. And so this is you and Sandra Hicks, a team of New York City activists, two of New York City's 9/11 truth advocates, and you're working together on this issue with speaking events and conferences since 2001. So the floor is yours, Les Jamieson.
Okay. Well, thanks, Catherine. This is a great introduction. Hopefully people have been checking the news. I think there's been so much news in the past 2 to 3 weeks, you'd have to be on a deserted island somewhere to not know. After a couple years of effort on the part of certain congressmen, and also a few senators, and then an activist community, and also thousands of members of the 9/11's families. The 28 pages issue has really hit the spotlight like no other 9/11 issue ever has. This has just been building and building. And about 3 weeks ago, there was an article written by one of the Jersey widows, Kristen Breitweiser, that was featured in Huffington Post. And she really wrote an incredibly hard-hitting, even I would call it a scathing article, criticizing Obama for failing to disclose the 28 pages all this time, because he's promised 9/11 family members since 2008. I've counted 3 separate times. Okay, so that came out about 3 weeks ago, and then following that, the 60 Minutes program on Sunday nights here on April 10th had a huge expose on the 28 pages and the Saudi issue. Steve Croft was the interviewer, and he had former Senator Robert Graham, plus he had several of the commissioners from the 9/11 Commission. He had Bob Carey, Tim Romer, and John Lehman that he interviewed. So it was very deep. And of course, that sprung such an incredible wellspring of media coverage just across the world. And it's just about hit what I would call saturation coverage, at least for a little while here. And now, when I say saturation coverage, it was on all the mainstream news programs, the cable news, plus it was even on the Sunday news talk shows like with George Stephanopoulos, Meet the Press, and those shows. This was just unprecedented. It was also brought up to some of I know on the Democrat side, the presidential candidates were asked about it, both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. And now, just in case anybody has not been keeping up on this, the 28 pages is a chapter in the preliminary investigative report just after 9/11. It was put together by the Congressional Joint Inquiry on 9/11, and there are intelligence agencies in both the House and the Senate. Okay, and from these intelligence committees, there were members who worked in, to come up with some kind of explanation for why and how 9/11 happened. They put together an 836 page report and submitted it to the Bush White House in 2002. Then it was reviewed, and it was then announced that an entire chapter was to be excised or removed from the report. And this was a chapter having to do with funding of certain of the 19 Arabs accused as hijackers. So soon as this happened, Bob Graham and a few of the other officials involved in the investigation protested very loudly. And this started back in 2003, and there was mainstream media coverage of it back then. And Bob Graham and a few others have been especially Bob Graham has been working ever since to call attention to the fact that this chapter should have never been classified in the first place, because there was nothing in there to jeopardize national security.
Well, they misuse that word quite often.
It's kind of a stalling tactic,
right.
or a way to use this blanket cover of state secrets or national security or, quote, sources and methods, giving up, divulging sources or methods. Well, they all said, no, that's not the case. As a matter of fact, on the 60 Minutes program, just on April 10th, John Lehman said that they know what types of documents should be classified because of threat to national security. He said those 28 pages do not or never did fall into that category. So,
all it does is really expose who was funding, where a lot of the funding came from.
Correct. But there's more. It also, according to Bob Graham and a few others, I believe Walter Jones has made this assertion that it also implicates a few other countries besides Saudi Arabia. That's the big one that's been implicated, but a few other Middle Eastern countries and certain organizations and also, quote, certain U.S. agencies. Isn't that interesting?
Not surprising. I mean, I don't know. You don't have to twist my arm.
Yeah. Sandra, are you on?
Not yet. He just texted me saying he's trying to fix his Skype. So I gave him a number to call in and
okay. When he gets on, obviously we'll give him some platform here, and he's been very involved with this effort, in support of it, and working in various fronts on it. So just to continue, Catherine, with news and developments over the last few weeks, April 12th, like I said, is when the CBS News 60 Minutes program came out. Well, 2 days later, it was reported in the Tampa Bay Times that Bob Graham was contacted by the White House saying that they were continuing, the review was underway, and actually the title of
here he comes. Hello?
Hey, it's Sander.
Oh, hi. Thank you for joining us, Sander Hicks. And Les Jamieson has been filling us in on what's going on with HR14.org.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear Les is on the show.
Yeah. Hey there, Sander. Yeah, I was just giving a little timeline over the last 2 to 3 weeks, especially with developments since the Kristen Breitweiser article and the CBS 60 Minutes piece. And then I was just sharing what happened 2 days later in the Tampa Bay Tribune, where an article was saying how Bob Graham was contacted by the White House. And in the title, it said declassification underway. Well, since then, we find out that may not be totally accurate. The review is underway, and there's a lot of different sources of information here, and there's some ambiguity. For instance, Josh Earnest, who's the White House spokesman, has said some words on this, and let's see, a few others as sources, kind of all that we have to piece together to figure out what we can expect. And there is some ambiguity. What we're told is that the review is underway, and it appears by June, Bob Graham will get an answer. And I've seen some information saying that they know at least parts of it will be declassified. And regardless where that leaves us is, there needs to be a demand from the American public. And I've already seen one statement by a survivor, wife of a man who was killed. Her name is Sharon, Parasol, I believe. And, demanding full disclosure, nothing less than full disclosure, because due to, Obama's recent visit to Saudi Arabia and their threat also as part of this news cycle, their threat to sell $750 billion worth of U.S. treasuries if they are allowed to be sued in U.S. courts for 9/11. What's going on here is a lot of very uncomfortable posturing and positioning between the U.S. and the Saudis. So that all plays into the mix. The geopolitics of the, quote, U.S.-Saudi alliance and the way that I think the U.S. views the Saudi role in the Middle East in its counterweight to Iran, for instance, and supposedly this is bizarre. This is such a contradiction. They're supposed to be an ally fighting against ISIS. However, they have a major role in creating ISIS in the first place.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's it.
One of the key facts for me about Saudi Arabia is they spent $130 billion internally suppressing their own Arab Spring. So the Saudi monarchy is really out of date. It's an autocracy. It's a tyranny. And, I don't, there's very little good to be said about the Saudi monarchy and their politics. No matter what your politics are, their politics are probably a lot worse than yours.
Isn't Saudi Arabia threatening for the U.S. or the U.S. government to not release the 28 pages?
Yeah, let's just mention that it's true that they're threatening to liquidate $750 million worth of U.S. treasuries, and that could lead to a global economic meltdown. And but as activists have been pointing out, that's kind of tantamount to an admission of guilt. When you have to get desperate and use blackmail like that, or threats of repercussions. It's when you're on the hot seat. And Pepe Escobar and other writers have been talking about the multiple crises that the Saudi regime is in right now. And it's hard to have empathy though when there's such a old, kind of outdated form of government. They're not democratic. They don't have women's rights at all. Women aren't even allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia. So
they behead a lot of people.
Pretty backward country.
Right. It's interesting. A part of this history is going back to just before World War II. The U.S. kind of made a deal with the devil, so to speak, knowing that the U.S. needed oil to use for its efforts in World War II. There's been a saying that whoever has the most oil in a war wins. That was probably true for that war. So the quid pro quo is the U.S. would provide safety and security for the Saudi monarchy. That's where this goes back to. Now I think this is an important line of history here. Let's fast forward to the Iran-Contra scandal. Prince Bandar participated and played a role of money laundering in the trade here of drugs for arms. That came out in the scandal and in the investigation. Then fast forward to the BCCI scandal. He was also involved in providing money laundering services. And this all then fits into the sequence of events in terms of the relationship with the Bush family, as depicted in the book by Craig Gunger called House of Bush, House of Saud, where there's a relationship, a business relationship going back to the 1970s, directly between Saudi royals and I believe including a few bin Laden members and the Bush family. And so when we look at the 28 pages, if there was nothing in there to jeopardize national security, the question has got to be, well, why did George W. Bush classify this information? How could he do it? That in and of itself is an outrage. It's an abuse of power and should be condemned by all who value a functional government and that exists on the principles that we're supposed to espouse as a democracy.
I mean, I just want it seems pretty. Okay, go ahead, Senator.
Okay, thanks. Let me just jump in real quick and say, I think, Les, our message is that, like, you and I are two of the oldest 9/11 truth activists in New York, and it's not like we are working for Senator Bob Graham. I mean, we're touched and we're honored that the gray eminence Senator Bob Graham is taking such a lead role in this 28 pages issue. But for us, it's not just the 28 pages that are the issue here. It's really like the truth about the uninvestigated colossal war crimes and the colossal spectacle that has never really been investigated. The whole 9/11 crime is really kind of an open sore on the U.S. body politic. And that's really, I think, what that issue for you and me here. It's not just the 28 pages, but it's really like a need to get the message out that if we had more democracy, more transparency, we would have more peace. Truth makes peace. And that's my message these days. And I think that's important to remain focused on. We're not trying to pin it all on the Saudis, and we're not trying to pin it on, certainly we're not engaging in Islamophobia. But this is an important issue, and that's why we're doing this major fundraising campaign with the GoFundMe campaign, and I hope we can talk more about that over the course of the show. Go ahead, Kat.
Yeah, some people are definitely not going to be happy with when the truth comes out, but I completely hear you with being about the truth. But I wanted to point out, when Les was talking about Bush classifying these pages, I mean, there's got to be some limits to what these people should be allowed to get away with. I mean, it just seems blatantly, criminal to me that they can just. I mean, it just screams cover up to me.
Well, exactly. You know what? I want to. Sorry, let me jump in. This is Sandra. Let me just jump in real quick and say that we have to remember that this is not just about the Saudis. That the 28 pages also cover up U.S. agency involvement. That Senator Bob Graham himself says that the 28 pages have to do with the U.S. Basically the U.S. shadow government. That there are some agencies of the U.S. government that are being protected by the censorship of the 28 pages. And that goes right back to what Les and I really care about, which is the whole truth about 9/11. The whole truth about controlled demolition, the whole truth about how did those buildings come down and who protected the hijackers. And
there is no way that this was not a false flag. No way. If I could I'll just make this really brief. Every month, the first Monday of every month, no separate justice has a vigil at the MCC, the Manhattan Metropolitan Correction Center down here in Lower Manhattan, which they call like New York City's Guantanamo. And they present. It's a pretty large group that comes out, and they have expressed some really incriminating stories about, how the FBI, singles out a vulnerable, Muslim Arab person and sets them up as a terrorist. I mean, it's like there are so many stories of this stuff. And to me, 9/11 is just maybe a little bit of a larger one of those.
Sure. They have had to have scapegoats all along to create this facade, this fake narrative that Saudis, we have jihadis here within the U.S. who are going to strike us at any second. This is a part of a fear campaign, which is how they operate. Which is why it makes it so important for everyone listening.
Chris Christie did it with the Fort Dix 5. I mean, it's like these people have to keep the fact that they need, like, I don't know, Shawshank Redemption, right? When Morgan Freeman says to the guy, it's, are you rehabilitated? The lawyer asks him, and he says, like, that's just a bullshit word. It's just a made up word. So you can have a job and wear a tie and all that stuff, I mean, it's like people have to keep their jobs going, and they have to, and it's all like, it's all theater, all this stuff that they do to warrant having a job and a paycheck.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a lot of theater, and it's also, I think, a long-standing plan for these wars that won't last. Won't end within our lifetime. This is the whole backdrop that they need, and we can look for the framework of that in the document. Rebuilding America's Defenses, put out by Project for a New American Century. We can see the framework for it also in the statement by Lee Clark when he revealed, upon visiting the White House just after 9/11, he learned of the plan, a pre-existing plan to invade 7 Middle Eastern countries, and all but one has actually transpired. So, this is a very, decades-long sequence of events that all point to an agenda for what we have now, this perpetual war abroad and the assault on civil liberties at home. I mean, my God, well, I believe you're going to have an interview coming up about how they spy on everything and everybody, right? So this is the environment we're in. This is why the issue of 9/11 is absolutely so critical. And the 28 pages serves as a lever or a wedge to open up this larger scope of inquiry, and because there is a wealth of evidence that proves without a doubt that there's no way 9/11 came off due to some young guys who were amateur pilots with box cutters. It's absurd.
So let me jump in here. I'm sure the listeners are sharing a lot of common ground with us and are wondering what they can do. And so, unlike other radio programs where it's just pontification and complaining, we're actually here to say that we have launched this crowdfunding campaign that gives you, the listener, the ability to get involved and put your money where your mouth is and put some skin in the game. It's called the 28 Pages National Action Team, and it's at GoFundMe. It's very easy to Google. GoFundMe 28 Pages. It comes right up. The 28 Pages National Action Team. And Les Jamieson and myself, Sandra Hicks, we're 2 of New York City's 9/11 truth activists that have been in it for the long haul. And we're organizing an outreach effort. We've already written and gotten activists involved in writing letters to Congress. We plan to have every member of Congress contacted by their constituents. We're going to be organizing local groups to put pressure on the U.S. Congress and the Senate. We're going to start a phone campaign and pressure the White House to do a declassification review that is thorough and that delivers on the transparency that Obama has always paid lip service to. And, the people can really make a difference. We saw that with Occupy Wall Street. We saw that with the Arab Spring. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about democracy and popular pressure being brought to bear so that we can really show that the secrecy and the censorship of the 28 pages will not stand. So we urge you, the listener, to get involved. Get on your computer, get on your phone, Google GoFundMe and the 28 pages and make a donation. Maybe you can do $911. Maybe you can do $91. We are raising $9,117, 9117. For a national action team so we can break this illusion. We can break this stranglehold on the truth that the international ruling class and the Obama in the White House and Bush in the White House have perpetuated this gross miscarriage of justice. The 9/11 widows have called miscarriage of justice. The 9/11 victims' family members are eager to get justice in the courts, and the system has been biased against them. The system has given Saudi Arabia sovereign immunity, and now certain people in the justice system are saying, "Wait a minute, maybe that's not right." And so that's the kind of pressure that we're talking about putting on here. So when you make a donation on GoFundMe, the 28 Pages National Action Team, you're actually really putting some heart into it. You're really putting some muscle into it, and you're really going to help the activists in New York City organize and do outreach and raise more money.
Right. People, money needs to be working for us, not the other way around. I feel like so much money is used for propaganda and all these, this charade that gets put on, and, right, turning money into muscle to put it towards truth. And we definitely need some of that too here at Organic News and Awake Radio, getting support, because we really need to turn this country around and get the truth out. I just wanted to mention, I found this email that I have by Code Pink. It might be like a week or so old, but apparently Frontline, the TV program on PBS, they premiered a new documentary on Saudi Arabia called Saudi Arabia Uncovered.
I saw it.
And Code Pink is discouraging people from watching it, saying that it's libelous trash and you should not watch it. The filmmakers spend all their time interviewing troublemakers and ne'er-do-wells and ignore the truth told by Code Pink. And I don't know. So what did you think of it, Les?
I thought it was an incredible expose. They had a few people there with undercover cameras videotaping things that you would never expect to see anywhere else. There's no other way that they could have gotten this. As a matter of fact, if they had been caught, forget about it. They'd be in jail for 100 years if they were even allowed to live.
So you're saying people should watch it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's vital to really get an understanding of the real day-to-day life in what is a brutal dictatorship.
Oh, okay. I see. It's kind of a parody the way that this email is written, because it's signed King Solomon of Saudi Arabia. So it's King Solomon of Saudi Arabia that doesn't want you to watch the Frontline.
That would make more sense.
Yeah, because I'm over here reading this email and I'm just like, why wasn't Code Pink would not want you to watch this?
Oh, I see. Yes, I'm online too, and I see the website that you're talking about. Yeah, there's a web page also that has King Solomon of Saudi Arabia saying, yes, this television program is libelous trash and you should not watch it.
And it says at the bottom, it reads, P.S. I'm looking forward to my friend President Obama visiting my kingdom in April, but I'm supremely annoyed that the subversive pinkos at Code Pink want you to sign this petition calling on Obama to meet with political dissidents while he's in my country. So it's a bit of a parody. Okay, so then because I get emails, and I got the email from Frontline to watch this, and then I got this email from Code Pink, and I thought like they were telling me not to watch it. So I'm glad we got that cleared up.
Yes. Everybody should watch it. Just beware. It's a little troubling. It's not easy to watch. And this is a good point to talk about a bill in the Senate that's called the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, or JASTA, which is another related piece of legislation related to the 28 pages. And this is a bipartisan bill entered by Democrat Chuck Schumer and Republican Bob Cornyn of Texas. So get this, one reason why the Saudis have gotten dropped from the lawsuit again that the 9/11 family members have been waging against them for funding of 9/11. One of the reasons is they've been claiming what's called diplomatic immunity. Mm. And then in the newspapers, they also have been telling a big lie, saying, "Well, there's really no evidence that has been brought up anyway against us that can stick or is verifiable." And turns out the lawyers for the 9/11 families have stated that is absolutely completely false. That instead they have brought forth hard evidence and about many aspects of their participation in as a partially responsible for 9/11, and the Saudis have refused to address or answer any of their charges, which is interesting. And so at this point in time, the 9/11 families, there's over 6,000 of them engaged in a lawsuit against Saudi Arabia. That's been going on for years, by the way. And they need both the 28 pages and they need this Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act passed. And that legislation, by the way, is fairly narrowly defined. What it says is that no country should be exempted from legal action for any act of terrorism on U.S. soil. So what's interesting now is that the Obama White House is lobbying against passage of the act. Do you know why, Sander?
Why?
Because they're afraid that then countries around the world could retaliate against the U.S. in court for various war crimes. They don't use that term, but basically that's what it comes down to. They're afraid to get sued for all the crimes of war that the U.S. commits in Iraq and Afghanistan.
So then why don't these other countries then all push to have these 28 pages released so they can actually know? Get on board with it.
That's a tough one. I think they should all question, especially the countries in Europe who are having to receive all these Syrian refugees and also refugees from Afghanistan and Iraq, where the U.S. went and just absolutely devastated those cultures, and to the point where millions, over 4 million, have had to run for their lives, and they're overrunning Europe now as a result of the 9/11 wars. So I think they should absolutely want to get the truth about the 28 pages and everything else. But
and Obama just put more troops in Syria, like 200 and something, added more.
Yeah, 250.
Isn't so much for ending wars, and he, I get really mad. It's outrageous, because all this talk about like we must get rid of, ISIS, ISIL, I don't know. And meanwhile, they want to keep all this stuff going because.
This goes right back to the 28 pages because the funding, this is what Bob Graham has been saying, and a few others, that the funding mechanism. We know that Saudi Arabia has, and especially through some of its Wahhabi mosques there in their schools, madrasas, and whatever, and then some of its wealthy individuals have been funneling money to some of these insurgent groups, and of course their schools throughout areas of the Middle East. And here's the thing. lot of this money, it's not only going for like weapons and materials and equipment. It's there to pay these foot soldiers,
Right.
which make up this quote, incredible, fierce ISIS force. So very important here that these are young people, young men mostly, who they would probably love to stay home and go to college, whatever, and have a family and have a normal, productive life. But there's no economic infrastructure where they live. But so when somebody comes along and says, "Hey, come, be part of the brotherhood here. We'll give you $2,000 a month, and we'll take care of your family. And this is a good economic choice for you." What are they? And the only other options is poverty.
Isn't it? I mean, doesn't it sound to you like the economic hitmen? Like this is what it's like morphed into. It's just they play both sides. They devastate a country, and then they come in acting like the aid, and we're going to help you, and that's how they get. I mean, right? I mean, just like in this country. I mean, who joins the military if not poor, marginalized people that have no
Right.
future?
Right. So the 28 pages plays right into this whole conflict that we're supposed to be in against ISIS. It's very important to make that connection. And Graham has basically been saying that had those 28 pages been released, there would be no ISIS today. Thomas Massey, Republican from Kentucky, has said that there's information that has some of the best intelligence we have, regarding the current conflicts in the Middle East today. This is why I believe, and I have believed since I started really analyzing this, that the releasing of the 28 pages has the potential to expose the global war on terror and ISIS as a fraud.
And people better really wake up to this stuff, because what's going on in this country with all these private prisons popping up all over the place, I mean, that's all anything is about. It's all under the guise of capitalism and just making money off of misery, off of destruction. Create that destruction if you need to, just to come in and make money off of it. I mean, that's the way that it goes. And I mean, it's gonna happen here if people don't. I mean, it is happening here.
Right. Doesn't Naomi Klein call that disaster capitalism?
Yeah. I mean, that's I think I just lost Sander. But Les, you're still here?
I am.
Is Israel implicated in the 28 pages at all?
There is speculation.
I mean,
that could be. I don't know. It is just speculation for sure. So I don't know. Let's have them. It's like this. We who kind of deem ourselves purveyors of total truth. We want the whole truth, right? We want to know every single detail and aspect about 9/11, because it was just such a monumental event, a pivotal event upon which we're still affected every minute of every day.
Yeah.
So we need to know every detail about it. And follow the evidence wherever it may lead. So regarding the 28 pages, like Sandra said, are we saying that's everything to do with 9/11? No, that's not it at all. For instance, we know that there was funding coming from the head of the Pakistani ISI, Mahmoud Ahmad, that went to Muhammad Atta. So that has to be explored and exposed, and so many other things. So But with the 28 pages, it will definitely point to cover up and point to Bush, the Bush dynasty, and I think millions of Americans are aware that something was very suspicious about how in the days after 9/11, 140 Saudis were evacuated.
Yeah.
And this was done through the Bush White House at the highest level. So what's up with that? We need an explanation.
I interviewed William Hartung once before too, like a few months back, and he also just did a report, believe it or not, on Democracy Now! On releasing the 28 pages. Do you know William Hartung?
I do. I do the name. Yeah. That's great.
I was actually just, even though, he's not like a scheduled guest or anything, I thought maybe I should just try to give him a call and see if he's got a couple of minutes. And I did email him, and he didn't reply. He must be once you're on Democracy Now! Saying this stuff, I'm sure you get really, really busy. But, it's definitely, it's picking up steam and getting, which is, for the mainstream to even be talking about it. They must feel like it's safe to,
right.
They're not right. They're not going to risk listenership profits.
It's interesting the way it works. They do, first of all, feel it's safe. What I mean is that since you have a respected governor and senator like Bob Grant talking about this, guess what? No one can turn around and criticize this issue and this coverage as, quote, conspiracy theory. So yes, they feel safe,
right.
and they're troubled enough to really, really get behind this effort for full release of the pages. So that's important, and it's amazing the voices that have come forward. USA Today and New York Times wrote editorials. This has come from their editorial boards.
But let me just ask you, because this is what I can't understand. Why is it a conspiracy theory to do what is in your right to do, which is to question and challenge the people in power? I'm just confused.
That's a great question, Catherine.
Where do people get this stuff from? Are people in power God? Come on.
It's a tool.
These are freaking human fallible people that get ill, that become criminals, that abuse power. In fact, people in power are more likely to abuse power. It's complete childlikeness to have this attitude of, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. Like, oh, the people in power, oh, your president would never do that. Come on, get real.
See, when you're asking hard questions or making allegations that really get to the heart of criminal acts at the highest levels, a lot of not only politicians but institutions and people from the establishment get very, very uncomfortable, because what it would point to is the scandal.
But that's what life is all about. Growth is about being uncomfortable.
They can't deal with the scope and the magnitude of the scandal here. That's why they will do all they can to sort of downplay it. And one way they do it is say, oh, that's conspiracy theory, and anybody who really believes that the government or a politician could be that evil to do such a heinous act, they got to be crazy.
Well, that's going to be the death of people, having that attitude, because, I'm always talking about like how disconnected from nature and the natural world we are. And that's exactly the truth, because people don't live in accordance with the way the natural world works, which is why we have so much conflict going on. I mean, this man-made system is at a war with nature, and it's because people don't challenge themselves. It's because they're not fit physically and mentally that over time that lack of fitness accumulates, which makes people even the task before them even more daunting. And then, realizing the truth is even more scarier, which then makes them not want to face the truth even more. This is what I mean. It's like, it's because we do not live in accordance with natural law, and people are just generally unhealthy.
Yeah, exactly. And people, I think it's a matter of being more comfortable with the chaos and dysfunction that they know, more comfortable with that than actually trying to work towards changing the system, and to the point where the people in the highest levels who have committed acts of treason will be held accountable, because what would that result in? It's unknown. It hasn't ever really taken place in this country where people at the highest levels be held accountable for a crime such as 9/11. Because when you think of it, Watergate was, minuscule in terms of the magnitude of the crime. Yet this country, especially when I say this country, I mean like the establishment, the media, the organization, the intelligentsia, the aristocracy, boy, they were just up in arms. They did not know how to deal with it. It was just such a horrific scandal, reflecting so terribly upon our U.S. image in the world, that our president could be involved in a crime and a cover-up. Oh my God! Now, that's what occurred over Watergate. However, with crimes such as 9/11 and others that are far, far more, at the highest levels of atrocity, the establishment has an awful hard time at coming to terms with it and exposing it. I think that has had an awful lot to do with the trouble of getting this really fully exposed. However, with the 28 pages, there's a crack in the wall here, and we have a lot to work with, And for people listening, by the way, I would urge you to go to hr14.org, and I have two or three things to request from you. Join our Facebook group, because then you can get all the latest news and alerts. We have to come together as an activist community, and hopefully a large one, and really take the actions necessary to hold our political leaders accountable, to make sure they do the right thing. And right now, between now and June, is an absolutely critical time. So we need to really build our numbers here. Also, in the Take Actions section, there are letters where you can just click a button, and it'll automatically submit letters to your member of the House as well as member of the Senate. So please take advantage of that, and get in touch with us and join this grassroots movement for total transparency.
When are the pages? I mean, they are like scheduled to be released, weren't they? Like soon?
The latest is June. Is when the White House is saying that the review should be done, and what's coming out in the news is at least part of the pages should be declassified. So June is the timeline.
Okay, well that's pretty soon, and so thank you, Les Jamieson, 9/11 Truth, hr14.org. And the bestforyourbody.com, I think, is the other one.
Okay, well, that's another
that's another show.
Another topic, but I'll repeat what Sandra was requesting, which is for people to Google GoFundMe and 28 pages. Take a look at what we're doing there, because we have some great work that we need to do that would benefit from a little financial assistance.
Yeah.
And just keep in touch, stay on tabs with this issue, because it's absolutely historic.
Yeah.
And thank you, Catherine, for the time tonight to get our message out here.
Thank you, Les Jamieson. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. So that about does it. There's a few minutes to spare. So, I know everything is about money. Please do put your money where your muscle is. HR14.org. I do this with absolutely no funding and no support. My YouTube channel, April Waters, WATTERS, April Space Waters, WATTERS. Organic news on the Awake Radio #1 with no spaces YouTube channel. I've been dedicated and committed all of my life to a very simple topic of health, and not just physical, but mental, which most people do not think about, mental fitness. And it's been one of my top focuses all of my life. And now, decades later, it's becoming more and more critical of how important it is to live in accordance with nature and fitness. I don't know how else to say it. I also have a blog, cataprilwaters.com, where I'm just getting pretty much, I have no choice but to just put the truth out there of how I learned what I learned, and now more people are having their experiences of what, the same thing that happened to me earlier in life, that people didn't listen to me, but now it's happening to them. So again, thank you. This is Catherine April Waters. Until next time, please speak truth to power. Good night.